talk about your experience, and it's great since it's your first one.
Yes, exactly. It is my first time. So, yeah, I mean, it was really fantastic having the opportunity to meet with Congresswoman Clark. Someone of such stature was really, really exciting. Yeah, having her have the opportunity to connect with our members and hear directly from them, from the contractors, exactly the issues that they're facing, and what she can do to help was a really, really rewarding experience. And then, we had that very helpful packet. So, we were right on message with everyone that we were meeting with. And then we kind of took the opportunity towards the end to say, coming from Massachusetts, and he said, now, you folks are generally pretty on board with, union labor.
Yeah, exactly.
Jazz. So rather than preach to the choir, we really tried to make us, a resource for them. We wanted to ask them, what can we do to make your life easier? Is it facts? Is it anecdotes? Is it us, signing on to a coalition? What can we do to make your life easier?
So Warren, this is your first, this is your first one. Like, what did you expect and kind of what did you end up taking away from it?
I didn't really know exactly what to expect. I hadn't been to DC in probably 15 years and certainly never for work. So I always read, yes, I'm always there for work. So it was definitely a whirlwind, but I was really blown away at the caliber of the speakers morning, and then the content that they were giving us. I learned a lot yesterday, and frankly, I didn't necessarily expect to have 2 or 3 pages full of notes from the morning conference, And
I mean, it's crazy. Think about the gravity of the speakers we have. We had the deputy secretary, we had the deputy secretary come speak to us. We had Whip Emmer, we had Congresswoman Clark, who's a big time in the Democratic leadership, and this is we're not the minor leagues here. And like I said, you have this and the great thing about us is we're kind of across the board ideologically. So these folks can be pretty candid. It's not canned campaign nonsense. They're shooting straight.
100%. And there was some real conversations that were happening with the Q&A sessions that, again, I was pretty surprised at because, having been to conferences before, there's usually somewhat informative and things like that. But I didn't expect that to be as much of a highlight as the actual time on Capitol Hill. That's what I think surprised me was that it was, the sessions were phenomenal.
Give us some just ideas on some of the general vibes from the congressional meetings, what topics were coming up over and over.
Absolutely. So, the Section 199A was definitely a big one.
Yeah.
So that was repeatedly brought up. And then, concerns over, uncertainty with tariffs and things like that were also a bell that was rung quite a few times. I was really impressed with the staffers. They were very informed and they asked really good questions and pointed questions, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. I thought it would be more of a lip service. Great. We're glad you're here from our district, things like that. And no, they were asking the hard, 100%.
Being I call it reformed congressional staffer myself, you are required to wear a lot of hats, and because your job is very clearly is get that information to the member so they can make a call on co-sponsoring, not sponsoring, voting yes, voting no. And it's your job as a staffer. And it's pretty intense. And you have to, and then to your point, you can't BS.
No. There's no, hey, we'll get back to you on that or, whatever. We were very fortunate that we had our contractor members to step in about, exactly where the rubber meets the road in their day-to-day business, especially with some of those pointed questions.
Yeah, and it's good to have those resources because you probably had a stack of business cards about that big, but those connections, especially moving forward, as like I said, we're in the beginning of the conference, so I think that's and the timing we've hit here is so great. We're in the beginning, so come back next year and be able to check in on the progress, see how we're doing. Did the quote unquote big beautiful bill, as Speaker Johnson's called it, what happened to it? We'll know in a year. Did it move forward? Did it stall out? We don't know yet because we're in May. We're May of 2025, come May of 2026. We'll have more to know, but it's just building those connections and being able to have that conversation as the issues progress. And our issues are pretty bipartisan, so there's buy-in across the board.
Oh yeah, and it did feel that we were very welcome.
Yeah.
They were very welcoming to us, and they were genuinely seemingly excited that we were there, which I certainly felt the same, being my first time, and trying not to get too starstruck walking through Capitol Hill. But it was hard. We saw some big names.
I mean, the funny story I had here was like, I was going upstairs here and there was an event for like Oregon for the Senator White, and we're just hanging out in the elevator. I'm like, hi. It's like, hi. And yeah, nice Senator. And obviously it was polite, said hi. But it was just, but yeah, no, you do your first time here and you especially interact in this field, like the folks you see on TV news, you see them in the flesh, you're like, wow. So it's still that, it's the network gets old.
Well, and it was an interesting peek behind the curtain because Congresswoman Tran, we met with her staffer first, and we met for a good 30 minutes, I think, really talking at length, which was great. And then she finished whatever she was doing, and it came into the room and grabbed us and brought her into her office. And we talked for another maybe 10, 15 minutes, both about the connections we have being in Massachusetts, which was really great. They always, I think they like to talk to people when they're from their hometown, and we were lucky with our group that we had someone that was from the district and all of the people we met with. So that was really, really great. And, it was kind of an interesting peek behind the curtain because she's like, hey, I got to run. I have to go to an interview, and it's like, speaking of seeing the people on TV, that's where they live in their head, It's not that they have to go to the station and do whatever they have to do.
Yeah. So, all right, Warren, it's been great getting to know you, man. It was a real welcome to the guest. Absolutely. Hopefully we'll see you back here next year.
I can't wait.